Hey guys, what's going on? It's Louie here, and in this video we are going to be starting yet another Fortnite series here on the channel. I know I am starting a lot of stuff right now, and it is mainly because I am experimenting to try and find out what does work and what doesn't work, and honestly the only way to do that is to try new things and see what you guys think. If there is a certain video or thing that you guys would like to see on the channel, please let me know in the comment section down below, and there's a very good chance I will make a video on it. That's the advantage of watching a growing YouTube channel such as myself. Anyway, today we are going to be kicking off a How to Land series. This series is going to be comprised of shorter videos which cover the early game strategies for every area on the map. I'm going to start off with smaller, easier to land areas and eventually make my way up to tilted towers and other hot drop spots. I won't be covering any areas that don't ever get any other people landing there, simply because it doesn't make for the most enjoyable content. However, without further ado, in this video we are going to be talking about how to land at one of my favorite places, Wailing Woods. First things first, each drop place on the map can be classified as either an easy, intermediate, or difficult drop, assuming the bus goes relatively close to that area. Even when the bus goes directly over Wailing Woods, I would say that it is normally an easy drop. There are 5 key questions you must ask yourself when dropping anywhere on the map, and here they are. Question number 1. What type of gameplay will come from landing here? Am I playing for a win or am I playing for kills? For Wailing Woods, and this is what I absolutely love about this place, you can play for either of these two things depending on the bus and how you want to rotate out of it. If you decide to play for the win and the win only, you can easily rotate short end of the storm and you will be set up for a good endgame with tons of loot and materials right off the bat. If you want kills, you can rotate into the larger end of the storm. It is not unusual and it is very reasonable to expect to get double-digit kill games coming out of Wailing. Question number 2. Is this a go-to drop or a play-it-by-ear drop? What I mean by that is this a type of place where you can have a spot in that location where you land every single time you drop there, or is this the type of place where you should go where you see fit based on the situation? For Wailing Woods, this is 100% a play-it-by-ear drop. You want to glide over Wailing, and as you glide be looking for a weapon or chest that you want, but you cannot get too fixated on one item, especially if it could be contested by someone who is already lower than you. You want to find your weapon of choice and immediately start pushing towards other players that could be a threat. Question number 3. Do I need materials and how much will I need to build for early fights in Wailing? The short answer to that question is yes, you will need materials to fight in Wailing. Players tend to hide within the hedges in the middle of Wailing, and it is super imperative that you keep high ground on these players at all time. The way I like to play it is find a weapon, jump up on the hedges, and run around scouting the entire maze of people until I am certain that it is clear. You don't need a whole bunch of materials to fight here, but you do need enough to build a couple ramps and walls here or there. Only once it is clear will I ever go through the maze to minimize the chances of getting jumped by someone around a corner. If you do get jumped by someone in the maze, using natural cover most likely isn't going to cut it. You don't need to be extremely good at building to land here, but like I said, you do need to be able to build walls and ramps to make sure you are always on the high ground. Question number 4. What are the other pros and cons of landing here? First, let's start with the good stuff. To begin, you are guaranteed to leave here with max shields just about every time you drop here. Not only are there a bunch of chests and ground loot spawns everywhere throughout the maze, but there are mushrooms everywhere, which should allow you to get up to 200 HP without drinking a single potion. On top of that, if you do find a shield potion, because of the abundance of mushrooms, you can potentially save that potion for a later time by using those mushrooms to get the shields that you need. The second awesome thing about landing here is the amount of wood you get. It takes no more than 3 or 4 minutes to fully max out your wood. The third great thing about this place is that many new players tend to land here, so if you are new to the game, you can get some practice against players who are a similar standard to you and work on things you are learning in a real match against real players. If you are experienced, this is great because you can potentially get as many as 5 easy kills right off the bat. As with all places, there are a couple of downsides to landing here. The first is that there is almost no brick or metal. That means it is easy to get the 999 wood, but you won't get much more than that until you rotate. The second con about landing here is slightly less important but does exist. It is the trees. Although they're amazing for getting wood, if you are in a build fight against a good player, the trees can make it extremely difficult to navigate and can block off your builds, and it can also make it very difficult to get your shots off. On top of that, trees can give newer players who don't know how to build the ability to camp and jump out on you with some lucky shots. The third con about Wailing Woods is that because it is on the edge of the map, rotating out of there can sometimes be a pain. If the RNG is in a bad mood, don't be surprised if you are running for most of the game. The final con about landing here is the fact that it can be very difficult to get a perfect drop since all the trees make it very hard to deploy your parachute at the correct time. However, this can be avoided with enough practice. As a side note, you should never ever land in the trees. If you do notice you've parachuted a little bit too short, you should try to weave around the trees and land on the ground, because you will take falling damage if you land on a tree and then hit the ground. Question we must ask is, what are the rotations like out of Wailing? We've kind of discussed this already, but don't be surprised to have to run to the other half of the map sometimes. If you do happen to be in the circle, there are two common rotations that you will see most players doing. The first is to rotate into the short end of the storm, and you want to rotate here if you are trying to go for the win and avoid as many players as possible. The other rotation is to go straight into the larger part of the circle where you would go kill hunting. Finally, we are going to discuss one more thing that is unique to Wailing Woods. As you can see, the middle of the maze is cut off by this wall, and if you don't have materials to get up and you want to get over there, you don't have to walk all the way around to the door. Any of this pre-built wood here can be edited by any player, so all you have to do to get to the middle if you don't want to use the door is edit this, cut away these three corners, and break through, and suddenly you are in the middle of Wailing Woods. That is everything you guys need to know about Wailing Woods. I hope this video was helpful, and hopefully you guys can land there safely and get a bunch of kills. Happy hunting.